here's a few words for you about the process behind taking a watercolor painting and breaking it into layers and turning it into a very slight but still an animation. I started with a digital sketch, as I often do, and I then created a neater version that would go on the top. That neater version was then the one I would break into layers. Once the layers were created, I then printed out this digital sketch and transferred it to a watercolor sheet of quite a large size. Then I could start filling these outlines in with color. And then my painting process started as normal, which is actually not quite as normal, because for the first time in a while I didn't start with red outlines. I just decided that I would go straight with filling in the color. And I think I probably did it because, first of all, the outlines were quite clear, so I didn't need to finalize a rough sketch and turn it into a neater watercolor outline, because the sketch was already quite good, or the pencil drawing was already quite good. And another thing is that I knew that once I'd scan it in, I would then add some outlines in Photoshop, because I was planning to use this pencil overlay to go on the top of it to add some detail and texture. So I just started painting and filling in these limbs that are floating about. Just thinking, what colors do I want, and what gets obstructed by what, and what is possibly casting a shadow on another object. And besides that, I just proceed as normal and enjoy coloring in these characters. Especially like painting these juicy legs. It's quite satisfying. I do like using this flat and firm brush, even though I think it was originally designed to be used with acrylics, but I made it work for my watercolor paintings. And as you can see, it's pretty good as long as you're sort of efficient in controlling your hand movement. You can use a flat tip to add this flat color, and you can use its little sharp corners to fill in the gaps here and there. And then, of course, a smaller brush for adding in some detail and some textures and some shadows as well. I think it's probably my favorite part, because this is where a lot of character comes through, and you can start understanding what the source of light is, what the strength is, and you can start imagining how the final painting is going to look like. I like seeing how all these fine little brush strokes help us see the texture and the volume of the object. So it was all quite flat before, but now you can sort of see this juicy leg is coming through again, or you can see the wrinkles on the trousers, and you can slightly sort of feel the texture of their hair, or even the texture of the objects flying around. And that's it, the painting is done. I'm gonna scan it in, and after that what I'm gonna do is separate each and every object into layers and put this painting together, overlaying it just on the top of the sketch. So it's basically gonna be looking like a colored in sketch, but me and you, we know that it's actually made up out of this structured layer system of separate objects and limbs. So there's basically quite a lot more going on than we can see. I've painted the objects that we see in the background, the cat, the window, a little rug, and I've combined all of this into one Photoshop file in two groups, one for background and one for foreground objects. Next thing to do would be to decide what's going to rotate slightly to create that stethoscopic effect, which would be probably my characters. And then I'll have the flowers. I just want the flowers to be rotating around their own middle axis. And then I want the slippers to be just floating about for no reason. I want the door to be slightly opening, and I want the clouds to be moving in the background. And that's what we have at the end, after quite a long time of me fiddling with Adobe After Effects. we now have this slightly hard to explain little animation. That was fun. At some point I will try and create a little tutorial video, probably. I mean, we'll see how it goes. But I'll try and make a video on how exactly to build a watercolor stethoscopic animation from scratch, and what to do with layers, and how to do the timing and the rotation of the elements, etc. So stick around and I'll see you later.